Okay, welcome everybody. And so today we're going to learn about how to create a more joyful and eco-friendly holidays. So we're going to cover things, how to have more greener, entertaining, gift giving, and reduce waste. Yeah, right, there we go. So let's start with joy, because sometimes, with the stress and running around for the holidays, we often oh, could everybody mute? Thank you. I guess we're getting feedback for some of the people. So if you don't know how to do that, there's a little microphone on your picture and just hit that. And then when you want to talk, you can just hit it again and unmute. All right. So anyway, we want to, sometimes we just lose focus in the joy of it because we're stressed. We're running around trying to get everything done. We're cooking. We also have more physical stress because we tend to eat foods that we normally don't do. So we kind of overload on eating as well. And so let's first take a few minutes to really think about how we can make this holiday season more joyful. So if you've got a little notebook there, just write down what matters most to you during the holidays. What is important to you? And I want you to think about what motivates you to do what you do. Because sometimes we just do it because our family's always done it. And, it's just become more of a habit than something conscious. So just take a minute and write a few things down. This is your holiday season that you get to create anew. So envision what an ideal holiday season would be like for you. And just kind of write what that would be like. And how would it be different than you've had in the past? And if anybody wants to share anything, feel free to do that. One of the things, my sons now have partners, and, when your kids are older, you have to deal with other families and sharing holidays and all that. And my husband and I decided, well, his mom was you had to be there on Christmas Day. And she lived in Duluth. And so, especially when the kids were little and we were working, then it was really stressful because Christmas Eve was with my extended family. Then we'd have to get up early in the morning, go to church, fly up to Duluth, and then come back. And we always suggested to her, let's do it the weekend before. We could spend more time. And she just wasn't open to that. And that was a commitment my husband and I made that we would never do that to our own kids, and that we don't get hung up on the day. We pick it so that we can be relaxed and enjoy our time together. So if any of you have ideas, feel free to share them right now.
I have an idea on sharing, because my son has a significant other now, and her family is in Austin, Minnesota. And of course, they want to celebrate there, and we want to celebrate here. But last year and this year, they said they were going to have Thanksgiving Day in Austin. And I said, okay, well, fine. I'll have Thanksgiving Day on Friday. doesn't matter to me. One more day I have to prepare.
Yeah.
And so then after being so generous with that, they're saying, well, you have the pick of the day you want for Christmas, and they have the pick of the day they want for Thanksgiving. So we're kind of sharing.
Mhm. Yeah, you have to learn how to do that. That's
Mhm.
you know, it's a negotiation sometimes, but
Yeah,
I think we can choose to make it less stressful. You know, if we don't get too hung up on it has to be done just a certain way.
yeah.
So if any of you have some ideas of what an ideal holiday season would be like, please share.
Well, it reminds me of an old saying that we received at our marriage. It said, love, honor, and negotiate.
That's so true.
No, my favorite memory is just reflecting back on happy memories. And for those of our children who now have newer relationships, having them reflect on memories that we don't know about.
Oh, I like that. Which will lead us to the next slide. I think this is true in life, not just over the holidays, that we get into obligation overload. And
Sorry to interrupt. We
Sure.
don't have the slide up. We have the
Pictures,
all the people.
the gallery.
So
Okay,
how do I get the
you
slide?
can't see the slide. Okay.
Well, it's probably because I didn't go to the right place, I think.
Does that help? Can you see it now?
Is there a place I go? I have the gallery up, all of us.
I think you don't want the gallery. I think you want to go up on the right-hand side and where it says view.
Oh, speaker view. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank
Did
you.
that work?
That
Okay.
works.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay, so we tend to get over, at least I should speak for myself. It's very easy for me to take on too much. So I want you to make a list of your current obligations and activities that you've traditionally done during the holidays. And then go through them and figure out which ones will not help you create your enjoyable holiday season. And if there's ones that you can modify or eliminate to reduce your obligation overload, star those or just cross them out. You don't need to do that. And I think we have a habit, excuse me, of saying yes simply out of a sense of obligation. If it's something, is really ask yourself when people are inviting you to all these different things, what can you do to make your life calmer and giving yourself some time to be at peace and enjoy the holidays instead of saying yes out of obligation. If that's the only reason you're doing it, drop it. That is not something you should be doing for yourself. And I do realize family can really be good at guilting. And it's taken me years to be able to say no. But I think it's really worth it. My kids have, as adults, they say, our holidays are just so peaceful now. And so that was kind of my ideal holiday. I didn't want all this running around. And when you have a big family, it can get a little crazy. So think about that. Which things you're only doing because you feel guilted into it, you don't enjoy it. So if a commitment exhausts you rather than energize you, that's a big sign that that's not good for you. So just drop it. And I know that sometimes is easier said than done, but give yourself some time in the beginning of the holiday season to really think this through and say, you know, what would make me enjoy these holidays more? Which things am I willing to let go of because they just are too stressful or it's just too much running around? And, if people ask you to do things, ask yourself, are you willing and able to follow through? And if you're not, that's not, you can't, and just say no up front. And I know this seems like we should be able to do this, but this is harder than we think. And we get in the habit all our lives to keep saying yes. So step back and really think about which things you're saying yes to, and then the other ones you need to say no. The ones that really give you, energize you, that give you a better quality holiday. Now, if you really want to have joy in your life and during the holidays, gratitude practice is really powerful to create more joy in your life. So feelings of gratitude directly activate the regions in your brain associated with a neurotransmitter called dopamine. And dopamine is the feel-good hormone, and it's associated with feelings of bliss. And who doesn't want more bliss in their lives? Euphoria, motivation, and concentration. So gratitude is, our brain is constantly looking for things to be true. And whatever your belief systems are, whatever you regularly think and focus on, then your brain looks for those same things. So if you're looking for gratitude versus painful emotions or being stressed, but shift your thinking to gratitude, then you release more dopamine in your brain, and then that reinforces a positive cycle. Because it's easy for us to get into that negative chatter in our brain, and we get into a negative downward spiral. But you can reverse that and have a positive cycle. So just choose to focus on the positive, and your brain will keep trying to prove that and keep releasing dopamine. Then once you have this cycle created, you keep starting to look for things that are to be grateful for. And it reinforces itself. So I'm going to give you a challenge to cultivate gratitude. It's a 21-day gratitude challenge, and we start today. Then for the next 21 days, find time each day to write down 3 to 5 things you're grateful for that day. And, post them on a mirror or somewhere else where you'll see them each day. And if you do this, by the time the holiday or Christmas comes around, or the end of the month, New Year's, you'll have more than 100 things you've written down that you are grateful for, and you can keep referring back to that. Now, I'm going to tell you, to give you some grace here, that sometimes I get a little too studious or serious about it, like, oh, I have to write down 3 to 5 things. Well, some days I'm kind of running around and, at night, and I think, oh my gosh, I haven't written my 3 to 5 things. Just notice, if writing it down just seems like work, don't write them down. But the practice is to pay attention each day to and notice things that you're grateful for. And I find for myself, if I start my day with focusing on something I'm grateful and think about it throughout the day, I just have a better day. So give yourself some flexibility as to how you do it, but do focus on and notice things that you're grateful for, because it will really shift your thinking. It will increase dopamine, and you'll have a more joyful holiday season. And if you keep this practice going, it really creates more joy in your life. Is Jean here yet?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay. So Jean, I think I'll have you take over on this part, and I'm going to have you be the host too. All right. So Jean's going to talk about ways to reduce waste. 25%, we actually generate 25% more waste during the holidays. So It's an important topic.
Yeah, so now that I'm the host, does that mean that I can forward the slides?
I don't, try it. And I'll see, otherwise I'll take over on that.
Okay, because I don't see where that would be.
Okay,
unless
I'll
there's
do it.
something more.
I'll
Okay,
just do it.
yeah. Well, one way to enjoy the holidays more is to reduce your waste production, knowing that you're not adding more garbage to the world. And there's a variety of ways you can do that. And the EPA determined that Americans create a lot more trash between Thanksgiving, getting ready for Christmas, and all the way through New Year's relative to the rest of the year. So it's a good thing to keep in mind how you're going to do things differently to reduce that waste. This says an extra 1,000 pounds of waste per household. And we weren't sure if that meant, well, that probably means during one holiday season,
Hmm.
which seems like a lot. Anyway, yeah, thanks for going to the next slide there. One thing you can do in the kitchen to reduce your waste is to obviously don't overcook. Cook as much as you're going to eat, or if you know that you're going to have leftovers, or maybe people want to have leftovers to take home, have appropriate containers for them to take their leftovers away in. And when you're throwing a big party, instead of going out and buying all these fancy paper plates and matching napkins and cups, just use reusable things that you probably have on hand. The dishware and maybe cloth napkins if you normally use cloth napkins. Normal silverware, not the plastic flatware. And or you could use compostable dishware, which now I didn't research to see where you can actually get that, but I believe there's a place in Twin Cities that sells compostable dishes for serving and eating and all that. But it might just be in bulk. I'm not sure about that, but anyway,
Jean,
but if you have them, that's handy.
Jean, you can even get some of, you can get some stuff even at Target in smaller amounts. I think Target has been better. I had to do that last year for a family gathering, and I was able to get stuff.
Oh, so they sell like a package of, say, 10 compostable plates and bowls?
I don't know if it was that small, but maybe like 20 or 25 or something. I
Okay.
needed bowls, and I was able to get bowls, and
Mhm.
and some stuff, even if it's not official compostable, at least it's not styrofoam or plastic. And
Right.
yeah, so I think there is more stuff out there, and
Mhm.
yeah, so anyway.
Yeah, I've been seeing more of it at various gatherings. So that's good. That's coming more into vogue. And then concerning party waste, if you have a bin marked composting, another bin marked recycling, another bin marked trash, and kind of educate your guests on what goes where, or put up a little sign for in each bin listing what goes where, that's helpful. And one idea that somebody came up with is for decorations, use natural stuff like pine cones or dried fruit, or gourds is what I'm thinking of. Squash, pumpkin, well, not pumpkin gourds, but just be creative. Put that stuff on the table instead of buying paper decorations that are probably gonna be trashed after 1 or 2 uses. And for your invitations, you could print on recycled paper or paper that can be recycled, or better yet, you can email them, send it virtually, or call them on the telephone if you have the time. And then,
And
of
Shannon,
course,
Shannon made a suggestion that you can get compostable papers, dinnerware at Litton's Party Value in Minneapolis. So that's another source.
oh, Litton's Party Value.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Litton?
She has it in the chat. It is Litin.
Litin. Oh, okay. I'll have to look that up. It's good to know. Thanks, Shannon. Okie dokie. And then, of course, holiday lights. Everybody's wondering where and how you can recycle them. A lot of places do take them, especially places where you purchase them, often have a recycling service. And even if you just Google where to recycle holiday lights in the Twin Cities. Oh, there we go, recycleminnesota.org. They have a lot of good information there. And a lot of times your county, what do you call it? County department that's in charge of trash and recycling often sends out a mailing to all their residents with ideas of how to recycle over the holidays. Something to keep your eye out for. And then wrapping paper, I always like to use fabric bags, cloth bags. Many years ago, my sister made a whole bunch of cloth bags out of fun holiday print fabric, you know, pretty inexpensive. And she just cut them out, various sizes of rectangles and squares, and sew around 3 sides and give them a little drawstring. And voila, you have a fun little bag to put your gifts in, and they can be reused a gazillion times instead of using one-use wrapping paper. Sometimes I'm very careful when I open my gift that has wrapping paper on it so I can reuse the wrapping paper.
Mm-hmm.
But like most people like to tear open their gifts, rip up the paper and give it to the dog so they can play with it. Recycled wrapping paper. Most wrapping paper and cardboard can be recycled. I wasn't aware of that, but it probably can be.
It can be if it's not shiny or glittery or
Oh,
it
okay,
has some kind of plastic coating on it.
right.
If it doesn't have that, then you can
Mhm.
recycle it.
Okay. That's good to know. Okay.
Couple of years ago, I bought a huge roll of brown paper, and it'll probably last me as long as I live. But it's really nice because it is, we can either burn it in our fire pit, or it would be recyclable as long as I don't have a lot of glitter. I'm not going to use glitter or anything on it. So yeah, that's a good way to do it, and that's very economical. I can't remember where I bought it though. I think I probably bought it at a hardware store or something. But I
Is
just
it
looked for
like
it. It was
3 or 4 feet wide and comes on a big roll?
yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
And
took
then
me a while
that
to find it.
also,
I may have gotten it at Lowe's actually.
oh, the hardware
Yeah.
store, LOWE'.
Yes, uh-huh. But
And
that's a good way to do it too. And then you can decorate it with some nice bows and some
right. Yep.
greens and
Or
some little
even, you
berries.
know, if you want to decorate it with crayons or markers
Mhm.
or
Yep.
color on it,
Fine too.
kind of
Right.
fun. And then you can just
Mhm.
write to and from right on the paper
Right.
instead of
Don't
having
even need a
to
tag. That's
little
right.
tags.
Yep.
You know, that's really
that.
good, Lynette, because in Ramsey County, they don't want us to recycle any wrapping paper in Ramsey County.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, even if it's not even if it's not shiny, even if it's tissue paper, they don't
Yeah, it
want.
seemed to me, I read
Tissue
the wrapping
paper
paper
is
was
not,
not,
yeah.
but that was years ago. But I could see,
Yeah.
you know, maybe they just say that because there's so many different kinds of wrapping paper,
Yeah.
but like Linda said, if it's just, nothing fancy on it and flat, you know, no sheen on it or anything. It's just like regular printed paper. Should be able to recycle it.
It should be, yeah.
Okay, well. moving on to-
Okay, just one more suggestion. Trader Joe's paper bags now have holidays themes that can be used as wrapping paper.
Hmm.
So that's good. And I like the idea
Oh.
too of old maps. I just think that would be kind of cool looking. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that is a good idea. Or even just magazines with bright colored photographs on them or something, you know, for small gifts.
Mhm.
You do that. You're wrapping up a small box that has like jewelry in it or something.
And I don't know, did that last slide mention gift bags?
Fabric
Because-
gift bags?
Just paper, because I reuse
Oh.
those, I've got
Yeah,
some from
yeah,
who knows
yeah,
how long
same with
ago.
me. You know, they're very nice and they hold up well and it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. Within my circle of friends, we're always reusing the same bag and oh yeah, I got a gift back in
Right.
1936 in that
Wrong with
bag. Yeah,
that.
I got a gift in 1972 in that bag.
Yeah, I remember my mom, she'd have like a brown paper bag, you know, just the ones with handles, the small ones.
Hmm.
And she actually would take old Christmas cards and cut out things and then just glue it on there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Good idea.
It's a pretty cute idea.
Hmm.
And you can just save all your wrapping paper. I never throw anything away. I'm just gathering it all up and nothing goes in the trash. I mean,
Yeah, that's like me.
I can use really good paper, like the brown wrapping paper, but I don't know, I can't convince the rest of the family that bring things to do that. So if there's some wrapping paper, you know, if it's not too torn up, I just grab it, fold it, and I have a box. I hardly ever have to buy paper. I just use that box over and over.
Yeah.
And now my
Yes,
daughter's
that's
got the
great.
bug and she takes all the tissue paper. You know how you have a bag and then you put tissue paper.
Right, uh-huh.
She will gather up all the tissue paper and smooth it out and fold it up. So
Yeah,
now we have tissue
Same
paper
with me.
forever and ever and ever.
yeah.
And it really builds up. It shows you how much you use, you know, when you start
Mhm.
saving it like that. I had to get a big plastic container to keep it all in. But at least it's not going in
Yep.
the trash. Not yet.
That's a good point. And the same thing with Christmas cards. You can do creative things with
Yeah.
Christmas cards. Make new Christmas cards or just decorate your home with them.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, should we move on to food waste?
Mhm.
Okay, well, it says here that about 25% of food is wasted in the holiday season by uneaten leftovers.
Yeah, well,
A
Yeah,
lot.
which could very well be true, but you know, if you're a good cook, people want to take the stuff home. But you know, again, it's, you know, being aware of how much you're realistically going to need and eat at your event. And it mentions donating leftover food to a food bank. I imagine if you're throwing a good sized party and you have a lot of food left over, too much to have the guests walk away with, that would be a good option. And of course, buy local. Your farmers market and co-ops, community gardens, all that. And also sometimes you go to farmers markets and you can get cool gifts, you know, not just food, but handmade stuff made by Hmong women and nicely, you know, knit things for like hats and mittens and whatnot.
And the mung markets, you know, they're all year long.
Yeah,
So
actually, the
you might
mung
want to check
markets
those
are.
out. And also Midtown Global Market.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still get a lot of local produce and then also local crafts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a lot of fun to go to. There's a lot to see when you go to one of those. And then, of course, avoid buying individually wrapped desserts or beverages, which, you know, if you're entertaining several people, you're gonna avoid that anyway. But even if you're just, you know, buying for you or your family, it might be tempting to get stuff individually wrapped. But it's kind of like every day, you know, if you're doing that every day, you're going to do that during the holiday season also. Just a mindset.
Yeah, we were at Costco today and they do have all these individually wrapped desserts and beverages. So if you can, you're much better off, you know, either making it, which would be your first choice,
Mhm.
or, you know, buy something larger like a cake versus all these little individual packaged items in terms of the environment.
Yeah, well, I thought Costco was known for selling in bulk. And people like to shop there because they could buy in bulk.
Yeah, you buy like they had like creme brulee, but at least that was in glass little
Mhm.
jars, and you bought a packet of these. But then I saw like a parfait thing, which you wouldn't be able to reuse that container, so that would have been just ended up being trash. So you have to be selective in what you pick out.
Mm. And I suppose they're individually wrapped, but they come on a box with like 12 of them.
Yes.
And then they
Mhm.
have plastic over that, so you have to buy
Right.
all of them.
Right.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a lot of waste right there in that packaging.
Yeah.
And then, of course, avoid using plastic. And when you go to the co-op, buy in bulk, bring your own little containers and just get what you need. And just always trying to figure out how to use less plastic.
Yeah, and people don't realize we're starting the Stop Eating Plastics campaign. And all those vegetables and everything wrapped in plastic, the actual plasticizers go into the food. Oops, here, let me
Mm.
move back. There you go. Okay.
Okay. How to use all your food. Yeah, there's some interesting hints on this slide. Besides,
Excuse me for just a minute. If somebody they're talking in the background, if you could put yours on mute, that would be great. Thank you.
oh, yeah, it's gone now. So if you're ambitious and a good cook, you can think of ways to use the entire chicken or pheasant or even I suppose vegetables. Figure out a way how to use the entire food product, but you might need to be a little more creative. Or maybe avoid produce that you have to skin, peel and cut off parts of it so that you create more waste than you have for usable product. And it says, buy only what you can finish or save. A lot of this is kind of stuff probably a lot of us do every day anyway. Avoid excess packaging and take your own produce bags. You can get nice, kind of almost a nylon mesh bag for produce. That's, they're permanent bags, but they're pretty nice because you just stick them in your grocery shopping bag and bring them to the store, and then put your lettuce, or, salad greens in one, and your garlic in another, and your tomatoes in a third one, and your bananas in a fourth one, and take them home and empty them and rinse them out and dry them, and you're all set to go for the next time. You can avoid all those light green film bags that they provide, that a lot of people only use once. And Linda was telling me of how it's not good to even store food in plastic in the fridge. I knew it wasn't good to cook and microwave in plastic, but if you leave food in the fridge, it will leach chemicals into your food. So be looking for glass.
And I have found, like berries and everything, I just store them in glass jars in the fridge, and they keep a lot longer. The other thing that's a nice hint is I found certified compostable gallon size and quart size Ziploc bags. So I use those, and then one of the things, like if I want to freeze something, I put it in there first, and then I always reuse my old Ziploc bags anyway. Then I put it inside there, because the compostable bags aren't, they need to be a little stronger and thicker for freezing. So if you put it inside a regular Ziploc bag, so you're blocking the contact to the plastic, but that I'm finding that works really well. And then just one thing you might not be aware of is number 4, you seek out ugly fruit and vegetables. One, they're less money, and there's an actual website called Imperfect Foods where they buy up, when you go to the grocery store, like especially like Lund's or something, and all the apples look perfect. That's really not natural. But, if instead of those types of foods would be thrown out, Imperfect Foods buys them, and you can get them for a lot less money. So that might be a website you might want to look at.
Yeah, thanks for catching that. I skipped over that one.
Mhm.
Okay, so in the next column we have canning and freezing your foods
Can Can I say something about Imperfect Foods?
Sure.
In one of my retirement jobs, I worked at Trader Joe's. I'm not trying to plug them now, and I don't know about other stores, but they would commonly take fruits or things that were dented, or cans or whatever were not sellable as perfect on the shelf, and they would give them to food pantries, charitable organizations. We would collect them through the day, and there was a lot. And so ask your grocer, ask your food sources if they do that.
And also
That's a good point.
where the Millers go.
Mike's Foods.
But
Yeah.
Oh, Ann wants me to mention that we have friends that visit Mike's. It's a food place up in, I think it's New Brighton. And they sell things that are close to expiration dates. And if you're a good food manager, you can buy things that are close to expiration, or maybe a day expired at greatly reduced price.
That's
And
the
Mike's is
same.
up where?
It's a grocery store in New Brighton. It's a very
Oh,
large,
okay.
reduced price groceries.
Okay.
It's
And
called Mike's.
like the name, Mike,
Mhm.
MIKE''S.
And there's a place in St. Paul, and now they have a store in Northeast Minneapolis called We Are Nuts. And they sell reduced price grocery items also. Besides their fresh roasted nuts and dried fruits and stuff like that. They have a cute little grocery store where you can get, actually, sometimes they have fresh food there. Man, I got a quart of strawberries for like $2. Seriously, and they're really good strawberries.
And if I could just add, many foods will say best if sold by instead of expired by.
Yeah.
Right. And it actually does go quite a ways beyond that, depending on what the
Mhm. Right.
food is. Mhm.
With all the preservatives and processed food, they'll last forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's worth it to check out those kind of stores. And then, if you like to cook, especially making soup or stews, use food scraps to make stock. Doesn't have to be just meat. You can also use vegetables for that. I'm not exactly sure how you do it, but do you
I
know?
do. I make bone broth all the time, so I never, whenever I have chicken, or now we're making some bone broth right now with the turkey carcass. We just had ours Thanksgiving meal on Sunday, and it's really healthy for you, and it has such great flavor. It's very easy to do. You just take your bones, put them in a large pot, cover it with an inch of water, and for about every quart of bones that you have, you put in 1 to 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and then you just simmer it for chicken. It's 24 hours, and beef, I think it's 36. But and then all those, when they do peeling, you peel carrots and all that. Don't throw those out. If you're going to do anything, you compost them. But I just keep all those little ends and scraps in a one of those Ziploc compostable bags in my freezer. And then when I make stock, the last hour, I just throw that in there, and then you just strain it out, and it's delicious. It just gives it so much flavor. So there's absolutely no reason to throw out your scraps.
Interesting. And like she said, you can always compost them if you can't think of a creative way to make stock out of them. And then,
And if I could just add, I saw I think it was our Hy-Vee store, it might have been Cabo, about a year or so ago. They had an ugly fruit section right in their produce department. And I haven't been able to find it again, but it was like lemons that were a little weirdly shaped or something. So keep an eye on your grocery stores, or ask your produce manager if, hey, would you guys be willing to sell some not so perfect fruit at a discount? Because I think they should be passing along that savings rather than tossing it or donating it or throwing it out.
yeah. Good to know. I think of the ugly fruit. There's a fruit called ugly fruit. And apparently they had other kinds of fruit, any kind of fruit that was less than perfect looking, apparently.
Yeah. And stores just think that Americans want things that look perfect.
Perfect,
And I don't
right.
think that's necessarily true. And if you don't have composting at your home, just always remember that there's communal composting available.
Right. Like in St. Paul, you might have to bring it somewhere, but it's very handy because when you're doing community composting, you can put more in it, meaning bones and I don't know, other
Shells.
stuff that you can't really use in a personal composter because it would attract animals and it would take too long to decompose. But with community composting, they'll take anything organic pretty much.
We're fortunate. We live in Highland Park, and literally Highland Park, St. Paul. So 0.5 or less miles is a food composting place. I have no idea. We just bring it up to the dumpster, and they give you free.
Right, they give you free bags, composting bags.
So I don't know how many places in the cities that is, but we have no reason not to compost because it's right there.
Right.
And what we do is we don't like have a bucket in the kitchen, but we put it in the bags and then put it in the freezer until we can bring it up there.
Yeah,
And
there's
we're-
places all over Ramsey County. I mean, there's there's like 3 different places I go to that are within maybe 3 miles of my house. But and some of them are open 24/7. You just drive up and toss them in the bin.
That's what we do. What's so funny, since we started doing this a year or two ago, when I'm somewhere that we're doing a meal and cutting up things, I'm like, I don't even think about putting it in the garbage disposal. It's just like, it's such an easy thing to do, especially since they provide the bags. But
Right.
sure, we're just in a very convenient location for that.
Minneapolis, we're spoiled. We have, and I think people have to encourage, especially larger cities, to do this. But we have 3 bins. There's a trash bin, there's a recycle bin, and then we have the organics. We just have to put it out on our curb. And I love the organics because like Jean said, you can put your bones in there. You can put your shells, things that you normally can't put in your own compost. So it just, we have very little trash for that reason.
Yeah, same with me, and very little going down the garbage disposal.
Right.
I have a friend who cruise. She rows boats on the river, and she says, yeah, if you can prevent yourself or reduce your use of garbage disposal to clean up the rivers. And
Well,
also reduces your garbage that you put out every week. I only create about a 10-gallon bag, about yay big, like once every 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So much that I don't even use my own bin. I just put my bag in somebody else's bin.
Well, I learned about this because our daughter and son-in-law are newly to St. Louis Park, and their spring yard waste, their fall yard waste, we could just put in compost bags right out by their garage. So you're saying the food compost can also be put out there?
I think in Minneapolis,
In
that might be the
Minneapolis,
case.
we actually have a separate container for
But-
organics.
Yeah, I used to live in St. Louis Park. They compost. They will give you a separate container for compost, but you have to call City Hall and ask them to bring you one. And then you put all your composts in the little compostable bags and put it in the bin, and then just put that bin out with your regular trash and recycling.
So we're talking about the food compost that doesn't
Yeah,
go.
food compost. Mhm.
Wow,
And
I'll have to tell our
so
daughter.
when we went to St. Louis Park, we had a food compost bin. We had a yard waste. I guess it was yard waste recycle bin. We had a garbage can, and we had a recycling bin.
That's,
So we had
that's,
4 bins.
that's so incredible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
St. Paul is trying to start a program like that. And in fact, they had a pilot program in the Macroban neighborhood years ago. And it was supposed to start this year, where they were going to collect everybody's composting. You would just have a separate container that you would set inside the garbage bin. And they would pick up the garbage bin and somehow get those separate containers out and handle them, put them in the compost pile. But that program got delayed for a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the only thing is you have to deliver it yourself, but that might only be once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, as I said, for us, it's a no-brainer. It's
So
right up
close.
we're right up the street, but I'm sure that that's not the same for a lot of people.
Mhm.
So if you're also in Minneapolis, Linda said you can compost meat and meat bones, which you can't in your own personal compost in your backyard. And then, there's 2 people in her household, and every 6 weeks they maybe will have a full bag of trash, which is mostly the plastic wrapping stuff that, it's just
Packaging.
frustrating that everything's wrapped in plastic. So let's talk about food storage, because we don't want food waste. One of the things you might want to think about, because you don't want to wrap in plastic, because the plasticizers, which are hormone disrupting, cancer causing, neurotoxic, they actually go into the food, and it's surprising how much of it does. So Google beeswax wrap, or you can make your own. So that's something you can think about. I have found some silicone like covers, and they stretch like over a container, and they have to be food grade silicone, but they also have like Ziploc silicone as well. And then I have found, you know, a lot of glass containers. Jars are great, and I'm working on trying to find uniform rectangular containers, so they're easy to stack, like in your freezer and stuff. Now, the one thing I want you to be aware of, most glass containers have a plastic cover. So what I do, because you don't want your food to touch the plastic cover, is I take a piece of parchment paper and I put it over the top, then put the cover on. So then you can, you know, put it in your freezer or whatever, in your refrigerator. It works really well. So I found the stretch tops for the silicone. I actually found those at Menards. So, and the compostable Ziploc bags, I actually found at Target. So just make sure they're certified compostable bags. And so those are the things you can store in food in safely.
Cool.
Screener gift ideas.
So on gift giving. So I was kind of stunned when I read this statistic that 35% of adults return gifts after the holidays. So that's a tremendous waste of energy. So think about giving gifts of experiences instead of like plastic things to ease the stress on our environment, in your budget, and yourself. And work on buying gifts that are meant to last.
I wonder if more people are like holding on to the gifts and then re-gifting them instead of returning them.
Well, you know, and that's a perfectly okay thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
As long as the original giver never finds out that you gave it to somebody else.
So here's some greener gift ideas: energy saving or waste reducing items. So, you know, people need to like rethink and reorganize their house. And so it's one of the things that I got for my kids is those little lazy Susans. And even though they're made out of plastic, it helps reduce food waste, because, you know, you tend to miss the stuff that's sitting in the back of the refrigerator. So by putting on this lazy Susan that you spin around, I find I don't waste as much food. I mean, I see it.
Clever. Put it in the
Yeah.
fridge. Huh.
So that's an idea. And I just got some from Target to give as gifts to my kids for their homes. Think about family-oriented games, you know, any kind of entertainment or experiences, hobbies, members to clubs, maybe a state park pass, you know, or do a gift and, you know, for one of your nonprofits in their name. So think about that, bus passes, all that kind of thing. So also shop at secondhand shops. You know, there's some great secondhand goods. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're fun to go to, the stores.
Yeah, they are.
You never know what you'll find there.
And then do a do-it-yourself personal care, food, or homemade gifts. So my extended family was going to have the holiday gathering. People spend about $25, put together some kind of gift that they do a little game, and you end up with a gift. And I thought about, because I can, and I know most of my family does not, I was going to put together homemade, pickles and jam, and I had all sorts of things that I've done, and then things that would go along with it. So maybe a nice loaf of artisan bread to go with the jam, that kind of thing. So think about that, some homemade gifts, ideas. And then again, you want to buy locally and support local businesses and artists. So this time of year, there's a lot of local art shows.
Yeah.
So you can do that.
And even co-ops have little departments where they sell handy stuff for the home that's handmade or, made by indigenous folks in a third world country or something like that, that make nice gifts.
Yeah. And then there's, if you want to look at some bestproductsreviews.com for eco-friendly gifts, excuse me, that's a website. It's in my voice. So that you can go
This
to.
is one of my favorite slides here.
You've been to this site?
Oh, I'm sorry, did I not mute myself?
Oh, okay.
I know, I was just saying to my husband, this is one of my favorite slides of the evening.
Oh,
The gift giving thing, just like I'm trying to go back to muting myself.
okay.
Sorry, no, this is Anne and Steve, but this is something, yeah, I love this. So
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking for my husband. My husband and I, we don't need any more stuff. We're trying to get rid of stuff. So I decided he loves the orchestra. So I'm going to get him a gift certificate for the orchestra. And so think about that too. And yeah, I just think we tend to accumulate in our extended family. They would be my great nieces and nephews or whatever. And there's like 8 of them. And if everybody got them a gift, that would be ridiculous. It'd be just too much stuff, kind of a waste. And so we talked about doing, get them a gift that several people go in on, and so they don't go home with 8 different gifts. They go home with one. And that's funny. Because you want to train our kids too, that we're not into just consuming.
Very true. Plus, they get all those gifts and they play with them for a couple days and then get bored of them, set them aside, and forget about them.
Yeah, and I think
I have another gift idea. So I subscribe to a subscription service called Mighty Nest. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but every month, Mighty Nest. So every month I get a surprise gift, and it's something sustainable. So it could be one of those silicone bags, some dryer balls, laundry detergent, anything. And it's always fun. And you can give that as a gift to somebody, and it's only $13 a month. So you could do a year if you had a bigger gift, or 6 months, or just a couple months if you wanted to. So check that out, because boy, I'm always love to see what I get every month.
Would you put that in the chat, please?
Yeah,
and
that
then
would be handy.
Sure, you bet. I think it's a great idea for a gift,
Yeah.
but I just love them.
Yeah, that's a good example of energy saving gifts and lowering your carbon footprint.
Yep. And one thing too that they do is, before they send you the gift, they send you your subscription, they'll send you a note saying, hey, your your product is going to be sent to you. Do you want to add anything to your box? And then you can do that without any extra packaging. It all comes together. Then you might have to wait a couple days, but that's never a problem for me. So yeah, it's a nice idea. So I'll put it in here for.
And I have noticed that, I try not to buy from Amazon, but,
Yeah.
I
me neither.
have noticed even Amazon, but several places that I'm gonna order some things that if you're willing to wait a couple days, they will combine everything into one box. So at least they're improving that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it saves on air,
Mhm.
Yeah,
transportation costs.
transportation, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
That-
huge
that's-
problem.
yeah. So, okay, sustainable decoration ideas. So, LED lights use 80% less energy. Or you can skip lights. And then avoid plastic decorations and tinsel. They actually create work stoppages at recycling centers. They're not recyclable. And you can make your own natural decorations, which are pretty easy to do. I just pulled out a book off my shelf that I forgot. I have a craft book on doing this kind of stuff, and so that would be pretty simple. And then you know, we talked about this a little earlier about creating home decor out of recycled holiday cards or decorating your brown bags, your gift bags with it. So, and this is the last one is always a big debate, which is more energy efficient, getting a real tree grown without pesticides versus an artificial tree. And it's kind of, jury's out, they're kind of equal. I mean, because trees take a lot of energy in terms of water and everything. But if you reuse your artificial tree for what I recently read was like 5 years, but or at least 10 years, then your carbon footprint is probably better. Then after the holidays, you can chip your tree into mulch or cut it into firewood. You can compost it, or you know, we used to put ours out in the backyard for the birds. So there's ways to do this and just avoid all the plastic and trying to go more natural. But from what I've read, you don't have to feel guilty if you have an artificial tree as long as you keep it. And so
Right.
that's the key there. So
Or you can decorate your house without any tree, which is,
right,
sometimes
kinda
I do that.
a Norfolk Island, what is that called? Norfolk Island pine? Is that what they were? Those kind of big. Yeah, I used to have one of those, and I would decorate that in the past. So. Okay, Jean, you want to do the greener holiday entertaining?
Okay. When you're going to a party or throwing a holiday party, there's a number of things you can do to be eco-friendly. Rent your holiday formal wear if you're going to be dressing up that formally. I remember my niece rented a dress, a really nice dress for her cousin's wedding. She did it online and just wore the dress once and had it dry cleaned and sent it back. So that was kind of cool. And then, or just don't have such a strict dress code for your party. People can wear stuff they already have. And then when you're inviting people, do it via email or the phone instead of sending out paper and having to pay for postage and all that. Then again, have your bins for composting, recycling, and trash out and, you know, clearly labeled. Then there's this website called Plant Plate that has all plant-based baking recipes on it. So it's at plantplate.com/recipe/list. I checked that out and there's some interesting stuff there. It's worth a gander walking through what they have to offer. Another fun thing to do is watch holiday classics movies. You know, your basic It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Carol, and there's a bunch of other ones. Just Google classic holiday movies and watch a different one every year. Also driving around and looking at holiday lights, or you could walk if you have a lot of homes in your neighborhood that are all decorated. And if it's mild out, just go out and walk. Check the lights out that way. Making Christmas cookies is entertaining, especially if you're doing it with kids. And then you can have a Christmas cookie exchange. But don't let people go out and buy their cookies and sneak them in. You got to make them. And then holiday crafts, again, when you're involving kids and maybe grandparents that have good ideas of how things were done in the old days and can still be done.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they can share that with the younger generations. And then, of course, family-friendly board games. We have a lot of people over. It's kind of fun to pull out a game of Risk or Trouble or Chutes and Ladders or Yahtzee or whatever. We play that for entertainment.
Okay, so this is to say what 3 actions you're going to take to make your holidays more joyful, or how you're going to reduce trash. And then if you have any ideas, let's share them now. We've kind of been sharing throughout the thing, but
Steve and Ann, giving credit to my husband, we have our 2 children and their spouses in the area, and our Christmas gift is an experience for sure. Like going to a show, having a weekend where we all we don't pay for lodging because we're in the cities. No, not everybody's in the cities, but we pick one big event that will draw us together.
Yeah, and I think this year, I normally give my godson a gift, and he usually likes clothing that he sees in like Land's End catalog or at some department store. But I think this year I'm going to suggest giving him tickets to a fun experience instead of buying clothing. That's one thing I just thought I should do differently this year.
Yeah, and if you do want to buy clothes, there's a place called Green Threads Vintage. It's on 1101 Northeast Stinson Boulevard. Stinson is right off of 94 on the way to St. Paul. And it has sustainably sourced clothes from the 80s. So they're all,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, they're all, reused clothing, but then they're sustainable clothes. So it's from graphic tees to retro Patagonia fleeces, and this spot caters, it's all styles and sizes. So it's kind of a fun place to shop, and you're not creating more clothes to go to China.
Yeah.
I hear they get all our leftover clothes that we throw away, and they don't know what to do with it. It's just
Who
so
knows what they
much
do
of
with
it.
it. Yeah.
what was the name of
Pat,
that?
could you put that in the,
Yeah, it's called Green Threads Vintage, but I'll put it in the chat too with the address.
I could put out a question. We have 2 different family gatherings where we do the $20 gift. Everybody brings a $20 gift, and everybody pics from that. I feel guilty that my two were rechargeable hand warmers. Are those bad for the environment? You know, like I ordered on Amazon.
Well, they're rechargeable.
Is that okay? It feels very materialistic and not great, but also I don't know. You know, I don't know if that's good or not. I didn't think about eco things when I was ordering those.
I don't
Well,
know.
they're very practical and they make spending time outside easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're helpful.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
we've
they're
done
gonna
in
be
the
reused.
neighborhood, with the gals, we have a white elephant gift exchange. And you're re-gifting something or picking up something at a thrift store, something that's going to make people laugh and have fun. And we've done that for the last several years. And it's the most attended fun event. And again, you're not going out to buy something specifically. It's something you've had or something you're keeping out of the landfill and bringing it and then we'll trade back and forth. And actually some of the real clunkers is like some people really wanted it. And it's like, okay, fine. So it's just fun and inexpensive thing to do. And Pat with his family, we used to do that also. And they had some really interesting things. And like somebody had this big buffalo statue and the kids just loved it. And they kept stealing it from one another. And it's just like, you know, I didn't want to take it home, but they were so excited about it. So, you know, one person's trash.
Right,
Right.
Yeah.
another person's treasure.
The treasure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm changing it to like I said for my husband, definitely going to give experiences. And I'm consciously trying to, well, we gave a really big gift to both our sons for their homes, and we combined it that it would be a birthday Christmas gift rather than have two things, something that they really needed for their home. So that's the way we're going to go.
I think that's a good idea. I've done that with my with my two adult children because and they've appreciated it and they said, you know, sometimes in the past we've bought lots of little gifts and they all might look beautiful around the tree, but you know, after you open them up and you have the fun of opening them, most of them are maybe things you don't use or you don't want to use or
Yeah.
just kind of waste. It's just kind of wasted. And
Mhm.
and the money comes up to about the same.
Yeah, it does. Might as well get one quality gift.
One quality gift. That's right.
And at our age, it's like if we want something, we go get it. If we, you know, as you get older, I think it's harder to figure out what to get people. So the
Mhm.
experiences is a good thing. I mean, the only thing every year that I have on my list is the only thing that I ever ask for is that my family goes to church with me on Christmas Day. That's it. That's all I want. You know, I
Yeah.
don't need to clutter up the house anymore with stuff and, you know, I'm trying to get rid of stuff.
Right.
Well, speaking of getting rid of stuff, what I did, I got rid of a lot of things. I'd buy things on sale or whatever, and then give them to nieces and nephews and baby showers or whatever. Well, the Christmas with Dignity at church, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you can bring them to church, and then people can shop and they pay like 10 cents on the dollar for the gift, and they're only allowed to get so many, to buy so many for their family. And so they're not giving them, but they're having to pay a little something for it. You're getting it out of your house, and it's going to someone that really wants, and they have gifts to give their kids and their family that they couldn't afford otherwise.
Mhm.
Good idea.
That is a good
Good
idea.
idea. Well, any other, I think we came up with a lot of good ideas. So, anybody else have anything you want to add?
I think I'm just gonna try and just let myself not do very much decorating this year. I just had an injection in my hand today, and it's gonna take, I've got some problems on both sides, and I'm like, this just feels so stressful. It feels so stressful to think about decorating, and I'm gonna just give myself a pass on doing much decorating. And so anyways, I'm trying to decide.
I think giving ourselves grace to let things go is
Mhm.
a good approach to the holidays.
And just think how easy it'll be to clean up afterwards. There won't be much to put away.
Right.
Just let go of the guilt, Pat. Just let go of the guilt. It's
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
That's the way it was with Christmas cards. And the first year I decided not to do it, I thought the house was going to fall down. It didn't. And it's like, yes, sometimes, we get cards from people that I don't send out, but I no longer feel guilty about saying, oh, I really should send them a card. That's their choice too. So
Mhm.
get rid of the Catholic guilt. It doesn't do you any
No,
good.
I
Yeah.
totally think the Christmas card thing, based on ours, that's the one time a year that we're just like, okay, we're gonna connect, but we don't expect. We just, that's kind of our thing,
Mhm.
and we owned two homes where we had beautiful real trees, and now we've downsized to places that we can't have a real tree. So we do have a artificial tree that we've had for about 5 years, but I'm just tonight it brought into my mind that it's not a healthy thing, except I guess if we keep it for 5 years, it's the longer you keep it, then
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It becomes more, yeah.
Because we love having a Christmas tree, and if you can't have a real one unless you cheat, and then they think you're gonna burn the place down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's tricky though. It's the first time I thought about a real tree or a fake tree not being eco-friendly.
Yeah. And I want to just say one thing, be careful if you buy a real tree, and I don't know how you can discern this, but 20 years ago, I bought a big real tree and I got a terrible rash on my body. And I'd never get rashes. I'd never get anything like that. And I went to the doctor and I said, what in the world could this be? And he said, do you have a real Christmas tree? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, it's probably from the tree because they spray those trees now with certain chemicals.
Mm.
Some people are sensitive to them.
Mm.
First time it ever happened, I didn't hear of it happening to anybody else. So I'm not going to scare people, and I'm not trying to scare people about not getting a real tree, but I know my dad and I, when I was young, we used to go out to a farm and cut down. It's a tree farm, it's a Christmas tree farm, and we would cut down a tree. The trees were grown just for people to come and cut down at Christmas. And those were always beautiful trees, and they smell so good. And I've always noticed that, those trees you buy, supposedly real trees, they have no smell to them. And
That would be a clue.
yeah, that's a clue.
And we had
So we've got
the-
an artificial tree that if we used for 20 years now, and so I don't feel too bad about it. It's showing its age, but we still keep using it and just say, this is our favorite tree.
Yeah.
If it has a little flaws on it, well,
Just cover it up with decorations.
that's okay.
with ornaments.
Mhm.
Well, we were fortunate at when we lived in Eau Claire for 28 years, and there was a tree farm. We would always cut them down, so we never had to go to the places that they maybe sprayed them to keep them alive
Mhm.
longer or whatever.
And just to give a little less stress too, we were talking about Christmas cards, and this year, I like sending them out and getting them because it is a way to connect with people that you don't often, you kind of catch up. But it doesn't have to be at Christmas. I mean, I remember when I taught high school, a fellow teacher, she would do New Year's cards. She had time to write a note, instead of being rushed around. Then a friend of mine missed it one year. He was just too busy, and it was just hysterical. He has a great sense of humor, and he sent out Groundhog Day cards.
Oh, huh.
Oh, yeah.
His dog sitting at the table with the pound of ground pork in front of it. And that was his picture for Groundhog Day, and he sent out these cards. It's really fun to see. So I guess we'll end with give ourselves grace. Whatever you can do, you can do. Whatever if it feels stressful, don't do it. And, get creative. I think everybody had a lot of really good ideas. So thanks for being here. And
One last question.
Sure.
I had signed up to be at the table after 11 o'clock mass, and there's been a family event that's been planned in Eau Claire at 1 p.m.